Hey guys, what's up? Nick here once again, and today we're going to be looking at my top 10 favorite games that I've been playing on the Steam Deck. Obviously, I have way more than 10 games on the system at the moment, and I feel like every single day I'm trying out different ones just to see how well they run, or if they run at all on the Steam Deck. And I've been blown away, honestly, since the first day that I've gotten this thing, with how well it performs, and just how many variations of games you can get on this thing. Not only just from the Steam store, but from the Epic store, as well as even from some emulators, which is pretty cool. So with that being said, let's jump into my top 10 favorite ones I'm playing right now, and let me know in the comment section below, what are your top 10 favorite picks for games that you like to play on your Steam Deck? Or if maybe you're checking this video out before you even get your Steam Deck and you're just looking at what games will actually work on it. If that's the case, hello and welcome to the club, and let's get right into it. So for the purpose of this video, to make it a little bit easier on the eyes, I'm going to be using a controller via Bluetooth to connect to the Steam Deck instead of actually picking it up and trying to play games that way. And hopefully that'll look a little bit better for the camera. So yeah, starting off the list, we're actually going to start out with Resident Evil 8 or Resident Evil Village. This one might be a surprise to some people. I was incredibly surprised that this game works, let alone as well as it does. It's amazing to me that a game that came out basically, I think, a year ago now, AAA title at that, and as beautiful of a game as Resident Evil 8 is, it runs almost flawlessly on the Steam Deck right out of the box. I literally had to do no tinkering pretty much whatsoever to get it to work. So this video might get pretty long if I go through and show you in every single game what the exact settings are, but I'm going to be honest with you, pretty much 90% of the games are what the game recommends. So what I mean by that is when you get into the game settings, you go to options, go to the display options or the graphic settings, and there usually is a setting that just says presets or recommended. And with Resident Evil 8 here, I did the recommended settings, and this is what it gave me. I'm not going to go into this in depth. I'll just let you guys pause the video if you want to get the exact stuff, so you can do it on your Steam Deck as well. And then as for the actual settings on the Steam Deck itself, I don't think I changed too much in here. Let's see. I changed the frame rate down to 40 with a refresh rate of 40. Now, you don't necessarily have to do this. I did this so I get a steady frame rate of 40 at all times. You can run the game pretty much at 60 and sometimes even higher than that, no problem. But there are going to be a few dips and dives below 60 here and there, and I just didn't want to deal with it, so I set everything to a refresh rate of 40. But from my experience, if you set the refresh rate to 40 and the frame rate limit to 40, and this goes for pretty much any game on the Steam Deck, it feels like 60 frames per second. It's barely noticeable, at least in my experience. So take that with as you will. And then I also sometimes I set the scaling filter up to FSR, but for this one I left it at linear. Some games give you better performance on FSR scaling. It's up to you. Again, tinkering with it is kind of the bread and butter when it comes to the Steam Deck, and it's all up to you of what you want to do. But with that, we're just going to leave it as the 40 frames per second, and we're going to jump back into the game just to give you guys a little bit of gameplay for the video. I'm going to try to do that with every single one of these games. So again, this is going to be a longer video, but I'll have timestamps below if you want to scrub through if you're looking for a specific game and you don't want to just sit here and listen to me ramble. Alright, so we're in the game. We're running again at 40 frames a second, 40 hertz, but truthfully, when you're playing the game, it feels like 60 frames a second. I really can barely tell the difference, at least from my experience. And this is at pretty high quality. I want to say the details are at high quality as well. I do apologize for my camera quality on this. I'm not directly recording from the Steam Deck, obviously. I just have my camera pointed down at the Steam Deck. So the quality could be better, but hopefully this gives you an example of what the gameplay will look like when you're playing on your Steam Deck. No hiccups, very smooth. And again, everything's pretty much on high detail, so the game looks beautiful on this display. This camera is definitely not doing it justice. This game it looked gorgeous when you're playing it on the Steam Deck. Especially when you're going into dark areas like this. So when you're in areas like this, you can really see the detail, the graphics. There'll be a little cutscene here.
What the hell? Mia? me out like the others, and then he gets to go and save Rose, right?
I'm healing my daughter.
Look, you got this all wrong. Shut the fucking hole! Sir. Take a seat. Listen, Ethan, you're being played.
What are you talking about?
The only downside that I've seen to Resident Evil 8 running on the Steam Deck, and this goes for pretty much any game that is from Japan, at least from what I've seen, or Japan developers, they don't necessarily run their games in a 16:10 aspect ratio, and that's what the Steam Deck uses. So this is a 16:9 native. That's why you're going to see those little black bars on the bottom and top. Literally a minute into gameplay, you're not going to notice it. At least it went away from me, but that is something that might be an annoyance. So I just figured I should mention that.
Kill me, move up the chain. Well, fuck that! I don't...
But that is Resident Evil 8 on the Steam Deck, and again, I've gotten all the way up to this point in the story, and if you guys have played through the main game, we're almost to the end. So yeah, the game runs great. 3.5 hours of gameplay on the Steam Deck without any issues. And moving on to my second game, it's going to be Wreckfest. Now, I actually showcased this game during my unboxing of the Steam Deck. If you want to go check out that video, I have a link in the description below. Highly recommend you do. It was a lot of fun making that video and a lot of great feedback on it. So thank you for everybody who found the channel maybe through that video. And I showed a little bit of gameplay there. I'll show you a little bit more for this video if you haven't seen it. This game runs great on the Steam Deck, and I want to say this one I actually am running at 60 frames a second, but I may have also bumped it down to 40 hertz. Let me verify that, just because, again, it helps with not only battery life, but you get that constant 40, and it looks like I did as well, because truthfully, you do not see the difference, especially on a screen this big. If I were to upscale it to a dock to a 1080p display or 4K, yes, you would notice the difference between a 40 hertz display versus 60, but when you're looking at it on this small display, running it at 40 hertz, it really does feel like 60. You're not going to notice the difference. But here we are, jumping into Destruction Derby. I think last time I showed a race, so this is a little bit different gameplay for you guys with a different vehicle and a different map. But this is another game that you could easily run at 60 frames a second without an issue. I just like to run it at 40 hertz because, again, it saves a little bit on battery life, at least in my experience. And it still looks great. This is all at high, or it might even be ultra settings if I remember right. Running without a hitch. I also should say I'm using a Bluetooth controller like I stated before. It's a PlayStation 5 controller. No input delay whatsoever. Like, yeah, you might notice a half of a millisecond input delay if you're playing like a really strategic fighting game or something. But in everyday use, I mean, it's just like using the analogs on the device itself. So if you want to prop it up on a stand and use the controller wirelessly, no issues whatsoever. Yeah, this game still looks amazing. I love playing this game. It's a lot of fun on the go. Alright, so that was Wreckfest. And next on the list is Rocket League. Now this is a game you could probably see there, I've put over like 1,500 hours into this game on Steam, on my PC alone. I haven't played it a lot as of lately. I used to be addicted to it, just kind of fell off of it. But that being said, I have tried it on the Steam Deck and it runs great on the Steam Deck. And being that it's a multiplayer game, I was kind of afraid that the Steam Deck would be a limit, or you know, you'd be at a disadvantage playing on the Steam Deck when you're going against opponents online. That is more than far from the truth. It's perfect. It runs great. And I've played the Switch version of Rocket League, and that one is garbage compared to this version. Main reason is because if you get a goal with the goal effects in the game, like the big explosions, on the Switch version, it lags the game down so much that you pretty much don't ever even see the goal explosion. It just freezes the game until it loads the next area, which is really annoying. Not the case or the issue at all with the Steam Deck version. I'm not going to go into a full game here because that's going to take way too long for the video, but I will go into training mode just to show you just a little bit of gameplay. And this one I am running at 60 frames a second. I didn't put a limit on it, but I am running it at FSR scaling. And I believe the in-game settings, I have everything set to high, or at least as high as it goes. But you can see it's a very fluid experience. No input delay, even with Bluetooth controller. But I'm going to probably play it terribly right now because playing on a screen that's flat on a desk just isn't natural. But gotta get that gameplay, you know? There we go. Finally got a goal. And as you can see, no lag at all with the goal explosions. So if you're looking for Rocket League on the go, this is the best way to do it. Next on the list is Grand Theft Auto 4 Liberty City. Now this one actually blew my mind that it worked as well as it does. You do have a little bit of a glitch at the beginning, and that's what's stated in the Steam game settings, or I can't remember what it's called, game info area, where it tells you if the game can work on Steam Deck. With their testing, they say that you do have to run the Rockstar launcher, and it you know, it's garbage, it's whatever. But if you can get past that, which is pretty easy to do, once you get into the game, it works flawlessly. I didn't really have any issues. I did have to change some settings in the in-game graphic settings to lower like the distance rendering and stuff like that in order for it to run at 60 frames a second on the Steam Deck. I think this is another one. I think I left it alone. I don't think I put it down to 40 frames, but we'll check when we get into the game. And this is the new Steam version. That might be kind of confusing. I was confused by it as well. So they had this on Steam for many years. They took it off for like a year and then brought it back. And essentially what they did is they completely stripped the multiplayer from the game. So sadly, no, you will not be able to play GTA 4 online on the Steam Deck unless you download a mod, which I don't really feel like going through all that because I don't even know how many people will be playing it anyway. But as you can see, the main story here, the actual game, it runs great. So let's go outside here. And I think I have it on high settings as well. I think, no, Roman, I don't want to talk to you right now. I don't want to go bowling. I think I have it on high settings, or at least graphics-wise, high detail. Like I said, the only thing I had to lower was the distance rendering. You might be able to see that. We're in the distance there. It's not really loading the area. Cars kind of pop in. But honestly, on a handheld device, it's still insane how good this game looks after... I mean, it is an older game at this point, but it still looks beautiful to this day. And having it on the go is just a next level experience, like for real. So, like I said, though, I think this one is running at 60. Let's see. Yep, I am running at 60 frames. I don't have it limited. And I'm using a linear scaling. I don't have anything changed there. It was mostly all in-game graphic settings I had to change to make it as good as it is. And I guess since I showed you the Resident Evil ones, these are the settings I have for it on the Steam Deck. If you want to screenshot that and use it for your own. So that is GTA 4 on the Steam Deck. God damn it, Roman. And now we're going to get into some fun stuff. Now this is actually running off the Epic Game Store. It's not running off of Steam, but you can easily download it right to the device. There's a ton of tutorials out there on the Heroic Games launcher. And this is a game that I love to play. It's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2. It's the remake of the original Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, as the title states. I tried a couple other games. I couldn't get them to launch perfectly on the Steam Deck, which was Trials Fusion for one. But thankfully, with Tony Hawk, I didn't really have any issues whatsoever. It worked right out the gate. The only thing I think I had to change, I might have lowered it to the 40 frames a second limit. But again, we'll verify that once we get into the game. So this is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, and just to verify, looks like I have it at 60 frames. Yep, I don't even have it limited. All right, I think I'm running the game at medium settings on the Steam Deck. I did try it at high a couple times, and I did notice a couple stutters here and there. If you don't mind that, you could definitely live with it and play the game without an issue. But medium was the way I was able to get it pretty much lag and stutter free. But you might see very minimal amounts of stutter here and there. But the fact that this is a fully Epic Games only game running on a Steam Deck is pretty crazy to me. And running as well as it does. And once again, Bluetooth controller, no input lag, I just suck. But yeah, this game's so much fun. Highly recommend it if you haven't played this game, especially if you've never played the originals. This is like the definitive edition, essentially. This is the one to play. So that is Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1+2 running through the Heroic Game Launcher on the Steam Deck. And now moving on to number 7, this is where it gets really crazy, emulation. A lot of people have been buying the Steam Deck in order just to emulate old games, and rightfully so. It's an amazing machine for doing that, and it's extremely easy to do. I'm not going to get into that in this video or show you how to do it. It's a little bit of a lengthy process. If you'd like me to make a whole tutorial video, I definitely will. But I can tell you straight up, there's a few other already out there, and they're great and easy to follow, so highly recommend checking them out. I'm using the EmuDeck software on the Steam Deck, and it works flawlessly. I have it for Game Boy Advance, PlayStation 1, PS2, and PS3, but there's so many other options out there, like for the Switch, the Wii, the Sega, Genesis. There's so many I could name off the top of my head that it's insane. But I'm going to start out with PlayStation 1 here. As you can see, we got Vigilante 8, 1 and 2, as well as all the Twisted Metal games, which is by far my favorite series. But let's just jump into Twisted Metal 4 just to show you a little bit of gameplay on the PlayStation 1 emulator. And from what I've seen on the Steam Deck, this thing is, I probably said this word a million times at this point in this video, but it's flawless. No issues, no glitches, no crashes, and I didn't have to tinker with anything with the EmuDeck software. It's pretty amazing. And kind of like the one issue I had with Resident Evil 8 on the Steam Deck, same with this, with the aspect ratio is a little bit off because they were natively at 9:3. You will see the black bars on the left and right. Now, in the PlayStation 1 emulator, you can go in and custom stretch it out to be widescreen, but obviously it's going to stretch out the image and make it look a little weird, so I just kind of leave it alone. But it runs great, there's no lag. It's just as if I'm playing on the original PlayStation 1 back in the day, all on the go. It's pretty cool. Now this game sadly has a lot of copyrighted music in it, so I'm gonna have to talk over it during this gameplay, and I probably won't be able to show too much without getting destroyed by YouTube's DMCA strikes. But yeah, as you can see, this game's running great. So that is Twisted Metal 4 on the Steam Deck. So that was the PlayStation 1 emulator. Next, let's move on to the PS2 emulator. Again, I have a couple titles on here. Just some ones that I used to play back in the day that I absolutely loved, and I wanted to try them again. And yes, I have tried every single one of these on here, and they all work without a hitch. And literally no editing. I didn't have to go into the settings of the emulator and mess with anything. They're all ready to go. The only thing I changed was with the PS2, I did change it to widescreen format so that they do fill up the entire display. But with that, let's jump into my favorite game, pretty much of all time, Twisted Metal Black. I just love that intro, it's so damn good. So let's just jump into a quick little match here so I can show you guys some gameplay. And here we are, Twisted Metal Black PS2 running on the Steam Deck. I have played through an entire tournament on this game on the Steam Deck and literally had pretty much no issues, at least that I could find. I remember there was like 1 or 2 graphical glitches that popped up, but that's going to happen with most emulators out there. It's kind of rare to find a game that's absolutely perfect or the exact same experience you would get on console. But for what it is, basically no frame drops. I think this runs at a native 60 frames a second. And it looks gorgeous, especially on this 800 resolution display. Because that was one thing I got wrong in my unboxing video for the Steam Deck, because I did say it was a 720p display. It's technically an 800p display, so it's a little bit better resolution, but it's basically 720. But it looks good regardless, especially with all these old emulated games. They just pop on this display. So that is Twisted Metal Black running on the Steam Deck. And number 9 is because this is just a special place in my heart. Burnout 3 Takedown. We're going to jump into it. I do have, like I showed, a PlayStation 3 emulator on here. I would like to show you that one, but sadly, the 2 games that I have wanted to play forever that I put on here, which is Skate 2 and Skate 3, they work, but they basically run in slow motion because they 100% use the CPU to play. And the GPU is pretty good on the Steam Deck, but if you're just using CPU for graphics, it's not that great. So yeah, just waiting for some updates. A lot of people have been waiting for some updates for Skate 2 and 3 to work properly. And we're all, of course, waiting for Skate 4's release. And when that does, I'm definitely going to be trying it out on the Steam Deck. All right, we're finally in the game. Here we go. The craziest thing to me with Burnout games is, or really any racing game for that matter back on the PlayStation, is how the gas is X instead of like R2, like we're used to nowadays. Or the trigger, I should say. It just feels super weird using X as a gas for a vehicle. You might be able to change that like in the in-game settings or something, but yeah, it's just funny. But yeah, this game runs great on the Steam Deck. Literally no frame drops. It looks great. I mean, Burnout 3 it still holds up to this day. No wonder this game won Game of the Year when it came out. Game of the decade. Oh, I got him. I thought I got crashed out. But yeah, I was playing this for like 2.5 hours on a car ride when we were on vacation last week. And it feels so good to play on the go. So that is Burnout 3 playing on the Steam Deck. Alright, and last but certainly not least, we're going to go into my Game Boy Advance emulators. I have 3 amazing games I used to play all the time on my Game Boy Advance growing up. And it's really impossible to choose between the 3, but I'm just going to jump into Pokemon Fire Red because I did start up a game save there. Now, I have played all of these on the Steam Deck to verify they all work without issue, but I haven't had much time to actually get much into the story. So this is literally at the beginning of the game, pretty much for this one. But I just want to show you guys a little bit of gameplay to show that a Game Boy Advance emulator works without a hitch on the Steam Deck. There we are. And it almost takes up the full screen too. The cool thing is too, I'm using the analog stick to move my character around. You don't have to use the D-pad. Yep, music and everything works flawlessly, pretty much no issues. There we go. Turn on my brightness a little bit to stop the my camera from hunting on the autofocus. But yeah, that looks a little better. But this essentially is Pokemon on the Steam Deck. Pretty crazy. All right, everybody, so those were my top 10 favorite games so far that run on the Steam Deck without pretty much any issues or any tinkering to get them to work flawlessly. Again, some of them involve emulating, and that's a whole separate thing I'm not going to get into in this video, but I highly recommend checking out EmuDeck for the Steam Deck if you have one. It is so easy to do. You can literally get it all ready to go. Just get the ROMs you need within 20 minutes. It's pretty quick, pretty easy, pretty simple to follow, and you got all your favorite games from the past on the go with you without an issue. Same with, of course, all the games just from Steam. There's so many games to choose from in the Steam library. Obviously, I didn't even scratch the surface of those on this video. These are just my personal top 10 games so far. Again, if there's anything that you've personally been enjoying on the Steam Deck, what games are they? Let me know in the comment section below. If there's any games that I didn't get to in this video and you would like to see me show them on a video and show you what settings work best, let me know in the comment section below as well. I'll definitely check those out for future videos if you guys would like to see that. But with that, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like, share your support as always. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and we'll hopefully see you in the next one. Peace out.